So in this lecture, it is a continuation of my previous lecture on dams. Now we talk about the engineering properties of rocks. That is, first is strength parameter. Construction of a dam involves transfer of tremendous load due to the weight of the dam and weight and thrust of stored water to a very small area of foundation or abutment rocks. The capacity of rock needs to be determined for the same, because in case of like gravity dam, we know that the entire force of the water as well as the weight of the dam is going to go on the abutment, right? Or on the not the abutment, on the foundation, sorry. So the foundation has to be really strong. So for that, first of all, we need to determine the capacity of that foundation. This is achieved by testing the strength properties in the laboratory on the core samples obtained from different and critical locations at the site using conventional laboratory techniques. So what they do is that they cut a core, that is, they cut some depth into the soil, and that core is nothing but a cylindrical thing that you have cut in the soil, and then they take this to laboratory where you can do multiple tests on it so that you can determine its strength. These are complemented with in situ studies and the same properties using static and dynamic techniques. So the one that we just discussed above was laboratory techniques. In situ means what you do on site. So on site also you can find the strength of your rocks and the strength of the site. That can also be achieved using suitable techniques. The static method involves excavating trenches, tunnels or boreholes within the rock mass at site and loading the section by pressure exerting machines such as hydraulic jacks. So on site, if you want to check the strength of the rock, what you do is that you you excavate a trench like this into the soil. So when you excavate a trench, it will look something like this, and then here you put a plate and you load that plate using a hydraulic jack. Okay, so this is a sort of hydraulic jack that you use, and that entire assembly is placed like this. Here you keep on applying pressure, keep on exerting pressure, and then on the dial gauge you will understand how much it is settling down and how much is the weight that you are putting. So from this you can get strains which are recorded at different load increments, from which parameters like bearing strength, modulus of elasticity and Poisson's ratio of that particular site can be calculated. So this is an on-site method that you do. The dynamic method involves creating seismic shocks artificially at selected locations and recording the velocity of shocks waves so generated through the rocks of the site and the abutments. So in the dynamic method you don't excavate your site, but what you do is I will just show you. From one point you give a shock, okay? From one point you give a shock, you generate a shock, and other point you have a receiver. So this is a transmitter and this is a receiver. The shock is given from here and here it is received. The time taken between that travel, that can be recorded, and you will understand what is the velocity of this shock that traveled through the body of the rock. Knowing the velocity, you can understand how dense that particular rock would be, because we know that more dense a particular material, more faster will be the velocity, propagation velocity through it, right? So from that they have some charts based on the velocity. You can determine whether your condition of the rock is good, whether jointing is there, or how dense it is. Next is porosity and permeability. A dam is essentially a water impounding structure, and as such water impounded by it must not find easy ways to escape. However, perfectly impervious rock throughout the site may not be available in all cases. So as I had already told that the rock should not be pervious, that is, it should not allow passage of water, but it is not always that you will get impervious rock. There will be a pervious rock somewhere in the foundation. Most rocks are permeable to some extent. It is therefore essential that investigations are carried out to establish fully the magnitude of permeability of the rocks at the site. So from most of the rocks water can pass, and how much water can pass through that should be known. Now we'll understand forces, various types of forces, the last topic, that act on the dam. Each dam is a massive construction, so it will obviously have a huge amount of weight associated to it. Evidently the forces arising due to weight of the dam are compressive in nature. If by any chance they happen to be greater than the allowable stress of the material within or below the dam, the latter is likely to fail by crushing. So the dams have a lot of weight, and this weight is compressive in nature, and it is going to cause compression on the ground or on the foundation. If the rocks in the foundation are not strong enough to take that compression, they will crush. So care has to be taken that the weight should not exceed that value. Second is water pressure. Since the dam is supposed to be impounded by water, it is required to resist horizontal forces acting due to weight of the water. The water pressure can be calculated by using rules pertaining to hydrostatic pressure distribution. Thus, in a gravity dam with a vertical upstream face, the water pressure would be equal to W into H. This is a dam having a straight vertical face, and water is there to this level. Let's say that level is H. The height of this is H. Okay, consider the pressure at the base of this dam. Then you will calculate it. It would be density of water into H. Gamma into H, or here it is written as W into H, right? So you will get such a profile where the horizontal force is maximum at the bottom and it goes on decreasing as you move towards the top. The total force exerted by this triangular variation is given by the area of this triangle, and it is half into, I will write here, half into this base WH into height, which is H. So it is half into WH square. This is the total pressure due to this entire water, and this pressure would be acting at a distance of H by 3. So I will just write this P. Here P is the entire pressure, and it is acting at the distance of H by 3, which is nothing but the centroidal distance of the triangle. When the upstream face is not vertical, so if this face is not vertical, as how in the previous case this was entirely vertical, here you can see there is a sort of inclined thing. Then what will happen, along with the horizontal force, along with this horizontal pressure, this much weight of water will act vertically also. Okay, so when the upstream face is not vertical, the weight due to water is resolved into horizontal component and vertical component. So this is the vertical component that is exactly above this small inclined part, and the horizontal component will be calculated as above. So there will be two components now, a horizontal component and a vertical component. Uplift pressure. So many pores and minute joints are left in the dam body and also in the foundation rocks, and water is likely to find its way into these minute openings through seepage and fill them up. So see exactly what is happening here is that when there are minute pores, or due to the porosity of the rock or due to the jointing, the water is going to seep underneath and it gets collected here. And when it gets collected, it tries to apply a pressure upwards. Now the nature of that pressure is trapezoidal, and here it is the maximum at this case, which is equal to W into H. So this is also W into H, and At this side it is W into H dash. H dash is nothing but height of the water on this side, and H is height of the water on the upstream side. So this is downstream, this is upstream, and that trapezoidal variation is there. So if this pressure keeps on exerting on the dam, it will try to uplift the dam, right? So we have to somehow dissipate this pressure, we have to remove that pressure somehow, and that pressure is removed by providing drainage galleries. So drainage gallery is nothing but a structure which is built like this. I will just try to draw it. So the water can now release its pressure and come here, and from this path it is basically a path into the body of the dam. It goes longitudinally in the body of the dam, and the water, when it comes here, it can seep off, and this pressure is also dissipated that way. So this was about the uplift pressure. And now we have earthquake forces. So dams get disturbed during earthquakes like all other structures standing on the ground, because whenever an earthquake comes, dams will also obviously get disturbed. The disturbances in the dams would be highly dangerous because they store huge volumes of water under great hydrostatic head, which when let loose due to failure of dam could create havoc. Hence, dams that are constructed in areas known to be seismically active need to be designed for seismic force and shocks also. So a dam has to be designed for the earthquake forces as well. It is one of the most detrimental forces of the nature. An analysis of seismic force liable to act on a dam during a shock is a highly complex problem which needs solution from at least three aspects. First is force developed due to vertical acceleration of the ground. Now whenever an earthquake happens, there is a horizontal acceleration of the ground, let's say in the X direction and in the Y direction. Along with that, there is also a vertical acceleration. So the ground shakes in almost all the directions. So first is we have to check because of the vertical acceleration, what is the effect on the dam. Second is forces developing due to horizontal acceleration when the reservoir behind the dam is empty, that is here is upstream and here here is the reservoir. So if the reservoir is empty, that condition we have to first of all take that there is no water here, the water is only stored on this side. That time what would be the effect due to earthquake forces. And third is when the forces are developed when upstream and downstream, that is the reservoir is full on this side and on this side also. So at that time what would be the effect of the earthquake forces. So this was it for the dams. And in the next lecture we'll be starting with a new topic. Till then, take care. Thank you.